Thank you so much for joining us for All Angles. I'm Dion Jax-Miller. Now in this program, a special one-on-one with opposition leader Mark Golding. This follows the conclusion of the budget debate, which is going to be the last budget debate before our upcoming general election. So things at time in the parliament got a little, I don't know, shall we say lively? There were some points of disagreement, especially in relation to what the finance minister in her budget closing presentation called the opposition's implied budget. Take a look.
With a focus on building houses that are affordable to the people, the next PNP administration will take a multi-pronged strategy to tackling the housing crisis. Our first strategy is a set of measures relating to the National Housing Trust. We will stop the annual extraction of the $11.4 billion from the NHT to fund the budget.
One full scholarship for a university degree per family. Madam Speaker, I had to get out my Excel spreadsheet to do this one. I did it more than once to assure myself that it was correct. You're talking about $31.5 billion annually, Madam Speaker. The bottom line, the PNP's promises, and I didn't even take all of them into consideration, is $48.8 billion.
I rise on a point of order because the minister is misleading the House. We did not present an implied budget for the coming fiscal year. We presented our proposals, our policy commitments for the next PNP government, and we have never said that they will be implemented in the current fiscal year. They are. After today, the budget would have been passed for the fiscal year. Our proposals represent what we will be doing for the duration of our first term in office. And that is what we were saying. And they will all operate within the current fiscal rules. Stop misleading the House.
Mr. Golding, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for having me, Dion.
So you seemed a little bit, I don't know if I want to say testy or upset in relation to the finance minister's comment about the opposition's quote-unquote implied budget. Why?
Well, because what she was doing was, first of all, I think, misrepresenting the costings of what we plan to do, and implying that when we presented, we were somehow presenting a budget, which is not what oppositions do. We will, when we form government in the coming fiscal year, there will already be a budget in place, the one that was passed yesterday, and will go to the Senate for formal ratification on Friday. And so the new fiscal year starts next week, Tuesday. We will be in a budget already. What we were doing was presenting our vision and our policy commitments for the first term of office of the next PNP government. And all of it was premised by expressing clear commitment to adherence with the fiscal rules. We are the ones who put the fiscal rules into law when we were in government. It is those fiscal rules that have enabled Jamaica to get through this period of intense debt reduction, which is a tremendous achievement for Jamaica, which both administrations can claim credit for, us for initiating it and doing the very heavy lifting of the earlier stages, the government for continuing and bringing it to where it is.
Let me jump in a minute here,
yes,
because you're going back to the
yes.
back a little bit, and I want to come back to the costing. You
yes.
said the finance minister was misrepresenting your costing.
Yeah.
I mean, what she said she was doing was making assumptions based on the proposals you presented.
Right.
But having said that, though, you're just coming from a press conference where you did present numbers and you did present costings, and
yes.
you laid out your case as to why it is that this was feasible. How could that not then have been a part of your budget presentation, so that people could see or make up their own minds whether or not these proposals are practical or feasible, can even work, as opposed to just being a laundry list of campaign promises?
Well, as I said, we didn't anticipate, we didn't formulate it as a budget because we will be in a budget when we come into government. So the rolling out of our proposals and the phasing of them is something which will have to be considered when we form government. A lot will depend on what's happening in the economy at the time. Are we going to continue to have a sluggish economy? You know, we're coming out of 2 consecutive quarters of negative growth and a recessionary environment to begin the year. We don't really know what's been happening with the tax take since then and so on. So there are a lot of things that we'd have to look at when we form government. And then we'd have to look at the discretionary expenditure that's in the budget that was just approved, which is $360 billion, and decide what areas of it will we continue with, what will we maybe defer, what may we scale down, what may we completely discontinue. Because at the end of the day, we won't be voted in to government to continue what the JLP has been doing. You know, we will be voted in to do what we say we want to do. So there will be some adjustments to how that discretionary expenditure is rolled out, because that really represents the priorities of the government of the day. But how we phase it and so on will depend on the circumstances at the time. Who knows if we're going to have a year without any natural disasters, for example. You know, there are a lot of issues that can affect the timing of things, you know.
So is it that those numbers, you guys sat down and worked on them after the finance minister's criticism in our...
No, we couldn't have produced it in such a short space of time. We have been working on it for quite a long time, actually. There are a couple of things which we, when we were near to the budget presentation, we came up with, and we had an idea of the costing, but we didn't nail it down with the precision that we have since. But the vast majority of what we were presenting, we had a good sense of what the cost would be.
All right, I have 1 or 2 more questions on that, but we're at the break, so let's go to the break. We're talking to Opposition Leader Mark Golding. We're back in a moment.